once this game is done, but it is going to be Gogeta Xeno taking on Gogeta Xeno. It is very rough losing that Barbity straight away. And it's not just straight away, but it also is going to be every time that you want to really place it back down, right? Maybe he wasn't running Hatch. Maybe, he had the Barbity obviously there. And it was kind of like there's only like a couple more in the deck. And if he hasn't got one in his hand, the whole idea of it is completely gone. So, didn't try to play it out. But yeah, very, very interesting that, I mean, you kind of knew it, right? Obviously, playing that, he, felt like there was a chance. Yeah, if he doesn't have the Peerless Fusion, then you're good to go.
Yeah, and it's just such an early scoop, which is what surprised me as well. Like, sure, losing the Barbity, puts you back quite a bit, but generally, we see people play it out, try and
see what they can do with it. Yeah,
an opponent's mistake or them not seeing the cards they need. But yeah, Chris was just straight onto it and said, "I don't think I can win here." And
yeah, absolutely. They haven't reported it. I'm not sure if he's just reported just yet. I'm sure that like they're going to count it, and they're not just going to kind of swap it there. I'm not sure what's going on. I can't really hear the players, but yeah.
Yeah, and for a deck, like Gogeta that we've seen so much over the last few months, I personally haven't really seen too many mirror matches myself. I've seen a lot of Icarus versus Gogeta. I've seen a lot of Soul Striker versus Gogeta, but I've never really seen them go up against one another.
Yeah. Will be interesting. I mean, it feels like they just kind of warp each other's items, right? And I think that, I think in this matchup, you actually want to go second. If I'm not mistaken, you're happier to go second in this matchup because if they get their thwarting on the field first, then you just warp it with yours on the next turn. So you're kind of like a little bit ahead. But obviously, yeah, it really does depend. Like, you both have to obviously see the pieces. You can't really lose a dice roll on purpose, obviously. But yeah, it's going to be very
yeah, and just one poor mill can put you behind so much. And I guess it will be interesting to see if there's any differences between the deck. If they're taking any options. Perhaps against Gogeta Xeno, but generally we see the same kind of deck, pretty much across all of them. So Chris has gone first. We see the mill there, hitting a Kai promo and a Trunks, but not too much outside of that. And pass turn. Same charge. We've got the Kai promo there, and now Blake will do his mill. And again, nothing too crazy there. He did hit a Vegeta, but not getting a full combination into the warp there.
Yeah, nothing too crazy or crash hot, I guess.
For both players, yeah.
Yeah.
So still a bit of an even playing field. No one's really pushed ahead at this point. No one's kind of set up their warp
to the way that they would like it, to the optimal spot. But going to be interesting to see which player gets that first. And there we go. I was going to say, we haven't really seen in any of the mills the 6-drop Goku that's going to enable them to kind of bring back a battle card from there as well.
Blake did warp one in his first turn, so it looks like that probably both players are just running maybe a couple of copies of it. But yeah, we saw Chris with the winner version.
I'd be shocked if the lists weren't very, very similar to each other, to be honest. I mean, usually the unison might change, if you want to run the Black Smoke or you want to run the Pycon or sometimes even run the Mirror. I know I ran the Mirror in my one. It's kind of like that hidden surprise factor of being able to kind of neg 2 and 5k for each card in your warp. It's pretty strong when your opponent doesn't expect it.
Yeah. And again, just to attack with lead and pass turn, and Blake will utilize his mill now. Got another Vegeta.
Oh, there's the pan.
Yeah, and still no Goku.
Yeah,
so we've got the 30k Goku, but no 5k Goku in the drop area. So yeah, very slow for both Gogeta players. I mean,
Yeah.
we're on turn 2. We haven't seen a battle card hit the field. We haven't seen a thwarting.
And it's not like, they're holding out on each other either, right? Like, they can clearly see that both of them don't have the pieces. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to wait for you to play it. No, I'm going to wait for you to play it. It's literally like, we both can't play it.
Yeah,
like,
and whoever finds their pieces first is going to start putting the pressure on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a second Trunks in the energy. You only need one in your hand at all times. It barely ever gets, removed where you kind of need to have another one. And we've got a Kai, Koitsukai. There's a Goku. There's the Peerless and a Vegeta. So he hits 2 on there as well. So he will finally be able to put a card down. And what is it going to be? Is it going to be a thwarting? I mean, the thwarting is probably the best option here, I would say. Maybe even goes for the Marvelous just to kind of keep it on board. It's got barrier and kind of swing into the life and bring him down to 5. But then again, Gogeta Xeno can self-awaken anyway, so it's not the craziest thing. If you want to keep him on 5, he'll be able to deal with it himself.
Yeah, I think the play is to get him to 5 and then thwarting and force him into a position where he has to negate or potentially take that double strike. And the negates that Black have available. Sure, the Kai is extremely good at being able to negate the attack and then remove another card, but just being able to negate and then thwarting comes back at the end of the turn isn't as good because you're negating the attack anyway. But like you said before, it does open a position for Blake to then warp the thwarting on his turn if he's able to get that elusive Goku that he's just not able to find. Oh, looks like we've got a little technical difficulty.
I'm just trying to...
Yeah. And there we go. Seems to be frozen.
Yeah. The only downside to having these online events, right? It's you can play from the comfort of your home. You can kind of like jump in, jump out. Like it seems like they have quicker times to kind of finish this. And is Blake doing his turn?
Yeah, it looks like perhaps he can hear Chris, but maybe one another can see each other. But definitely looks frozen to me on my side.
Yeah, I'm frozen on that side as well. We definitely saw him relog, but there was
yeah. If I'm not mistaken, this is just an exhibition game. I believe that the Soul Striker Gogeta was the official round 4.
Yeah, I believe so. I guess I don't really care too much. Like, and I'm guessing, he can definitely see what he's doing, and he's not really too worried. He believes that his opponent's pretty legitimate. He's not trying to do anything shady behind the scenes. I mean, like I said, there you go. He's disconnecting and trying to relog again, so it's definitely not just us. But
perhaps they can hear one another, and Chris just said, I can see you. Perhaps just
do your turn and then see if it fixes. Yeah,
just continue to play and we'll sort this out. But hopefully that's the last of our technical difficulties.
Yeah, so he's back in the channel itself. We can't hear either to see if it's like distorted or if there's like issues with it. Like even with the audio, but he's going to try and turn on his camera again. Okay. Yep, bit of movement.
Yeah.
Looks like it definitely is better than before. Can start seeing shadows. Yep. All right. So it looks like that it is back live. And Blake was taking his turn, so he must have obviously been able to see. And he's going to use Petrification, so he's going to get rid of the Kai.
Petrification being able to hit through barrier as well, so
very strong card.
Being able to stop that miraculous survival from activating its activate main. And looks like Chris is still sitting at about 6 life. So, and Blake's still at 5 life. We're going into turn 4 here, and both players still sitting at really high
Yeah.
life.
Yep.
In contrast to the Gogeta Xeno versus the Sin Shenron, we were on turn 2 and 3,
Blazing
and
through.
Sin
Yeah.
Shenron was sitting at 3 life. So huge contrast here when both players just aren't seeing the greatest of mills.
That's the thing with this deck, though, isn't it? Like, this is one of the biggest RNG decks that there is. There's only so many Gokus and Vegetas you can put in. There's only so much luck that you can pull out of the deck itself when you mill the top 5. It's really, really hard to kind of do what you need to do. And I feel like for both of these players, Mirror Unison might not have been too bad of a choice. You obviously get to choose a card in your hand and send it to the warp. You get to draw one as well. So if you have that, 5-cost Vegeta or 5-cost Goku, you would have been able to kind of get that chain started early, kind of like a backup to like getting your chain. Which let's be honest here, if you don't have the Gogeta chain up ready to go in these decks, then it kind of lackluster. Like, we've seen it now. We're going on to turn 4, and we're seeing burst thwarting. Like, it's could have been prevented, could have sped up. But is what it is. I mean, again, we're going to see the Kai drop down. Yeah. Now the Kai will be warped, and so will the thwarting, but the thwarting will come back.
You could overrun the Trunks, send all the cards to the warp, play another thwarting, be able to attack, and then obviously you'd lose one of them at the end of the turn. But it is another way to. I mean, 1 energy for a 25k double strike still is huge. Yeah,
and we're just going to go into the.
Looks like it's used to go through from hand.
Yeah. And it's very interesting here. Yeah, well, the Kai was meant to be warped anyway from the actual thwarting. So this Fearless Fusion was not going to hit a card anyway, but he might have just, forgot or not realized the auto timings and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's the Goku being able to pick back up a card with energy cost between 3 and 6, I believe.
Yeah, correct.
And have that 30k attack available.
And yeah, then being able to be sent to the warp at the end of the turn if he's got a Vegeta in there. I don't think we've seen a 30k Vegeta in the warp yet.
I think a lot of players aren't opting to play that 30k Vegeta, just running the Goku purely to be able to pick up the thwarting. Generally is the main target, but any card that's any of the Gogetas really in the deck. Yeah.
And I mean, you get to put 6 Vegetas at 5k, for example, into the deck, and you usually run about like 7 Gokus, something like that, as the ratios. Some people were running 2 Vegetas as well, just at the 30k to give it a bit more consistency. But it's what it is. He should still get the thwarting back at the end of the turn if he doesn't forget. I think he's looking for it now. Oh, that's if he's passing now. No, he'll probably swing with the Goku first. Still on 6 life as well, so still in a pretty decent position here. Blake is on 4, hasn't awakened yet.
Both players with massive hands here as well.
Oh yeah, deck does draw so much as well. It's kind of crazy. And the ability to play so many cards with such minimal resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of exciting to think that this will probably be the last time that we get to see these decks at full power.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be some changes, from next week, essentially, with just the way that black decks are around, like whether Trunks becomes the more relevant deck, whether Gogeta drops off completely, or whether it's still around.
Well, yeah, the thing is, I don't know if you remember, but when we played the side event for Nats, I actually took Gogeta Xeno without the Trunks in it because the Trunks was not part of the Unison Warrior block. The deck was still, fairly strong, fairly decent. It does slow it down, but because you're playing against other decks that have Unison Warrior only, they don't get a lot of access to, Bean, and a lot of these other cards that, made them so strong, back in the day. But it really does slow down all your chains because you just can't, use the Trunks overwhelm. You can't get an extra card into your hand from the mill of the top 5. You have to kind of find other resources, and so it is really like a watered down version
Yeah.
Of the actual deck, and knowing the full. That's the thing, right? Knowing what the deck looked like at full capacity, and like at full power, really makes it hard to play at like an older, like at a new version of itself. It's the same as King Piccolo, King Vegeta. Sorry, you know, when that deck got hit, it was like, well, I know what the original idea was, and I know how strong it was back in the day. I don't really want to play the errated version because it's just not good. Or,
Yeah,
you know,
people
you've been
don't give it a
spoiled.
chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've been spoiled because the deck was so strong, and now that it's got hit, it's just like, well, you know, it's not as good as it used to be, and there's no real reason for me. Like, look at Dark Broly, you know. People were
Yeah.
saying, like, oh, you know, the energy cost won't really be too much of an issue. You barely use your energy anyway, but that deck fell off very, very quickly after that. That fix on the 6-drop, so which allowed Xeno to obviously pop up and be very, very strong. So, you know, there's always reasons behind these fixes and these erratas and stuff like that. So obviously always very grateful that, you know, we get to see new decks and new ideas come out of it. But yeah, it is very hard to play decks once they have been, I'm going to say, nerfed.
Yeah,
to make it easier.
absolutely.
Yeah.
An absolute aggressive turn from Chris there, putting Blake down to 1 life. He still hasn't awakened either. So Blake hoping to close it out this turn, I imagine. I mean, you don't want to be sitting at 1 life staring down
No.
the board that's still established for Chris. You've got the 1-drops, you've got the Pike on Unison available. His leader's not even awakened yet as well.
And you're at 6 life,
so many life, yeah.
6 life. Sure you're tapped out. But there you go. He brought back the thwarting from. I mean, that's even more pressure, right? Like, that's literally staring down the barrel, and he's playing the Koitsukai.
Yeah.
He's activating the ability, which.
Do you really think it's worth paying unless you need to fix your hand? I mean, Chris is tapped out, so there's no option to play. Oh, he hasn't awakened. Yeah.
He hasn't awakened, so he will be able to untap 1
when
he gets to it.
To the game, I can't believe that both players haven't awakened. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at the 4th turn, and it's literally like 1 life without awakening.
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy. And I mean, yeah, you look at the board, say, for Chris, and it's just like, sure, you got Koitsukai on the field as well, but I mean, it's not looking good here for Blake, and I feel like Chris will be like, oh man, I really wish I played Xeno in this tournament. But he still did well. He went second, you know, locked in another playmat. Again, these playmats are nothing to scoff at. You know, the boys down at NWP and PX3 have done an amazing job fixing up these ones. And guys, if you haven't already, you can see in chat the YouTube channels for all of us. You'll be able to click that link and then subscribe to the channel to see when any of us have content. Check that out. I will leave it in the description as well. So you guys can watch the VODs as well. If you missed out on any games or you want to see what happened during today, we've had some great leaders. We've had some great games, some good discussions and stuff like that, and winning interviews as well. That will all be going onto our YouTube channel. So if you've missed out, hit that subscribe button, and you'll be able to get notified once they start going up. I'm going to try and get through them throughout this week in prep for pre-release of Realm of the Gods. But yeah,
we've got some exciting stuff coming out for Realm of the Gods. You know, we've gone through most of our deck ideas, and we've got blue left. We've got a case analysis coming out, so giving people the option to see what the ratios are like from a full case.
Yep.
You know, what the chances are of pulling certain cards and things like that. Really exciting.
That's actually a good point, Ryan. Now that you brought that up, guys, we did put a poll and like a couple of messages out on Facebook. We want to know if you guys have any questions in regarding Realm of the Gods, like, you know, the ratios, what SR maybe we pulled the most, how many foil leaders you get, what was the box topper ratios, did I see more cards than the other, what's the SCRs, I'm going to look like, can you get the same SCR out of a case, etc., etc. If you have any questions for us, we are going to be cracking a case sometime end of this week when we go to our pre-release event. That will be exciting. I've got the boys on board from our locals. They have agreed to give us their boxes to crack as well, so we can get a full case ratio. So at least that way we'll have everything available, ready to go, and we'll be able to tell everyone what we're looking for. So if you have any questions, leave it in the chat now. We will be reading these comments as well as we're going. So yeah, if you have any burning questions that you want to know when we're releasing our case analysis, then yeah, we will definitely add that in. But we've got a couple of responses already that we're going to look at adding in. But yeah, if there's anything that's burning, definitely let us know.
And Blake's past his turn there, wasn't able to establish as big of a board as Chris was, but was able to clear Chris's, and Chris just so easily able to start bringing back some of these big boss monsters. Blake sitting with an absolute massive hand. Yeah, it looks got to be 13 to 15 cards in there, if not, yeah. So going to be relying on his negates, and he's just decided to scoop.
Yeah, it's kind of gone to a point where it's like, yeah, he's kind of brought it back a bit.
Just being at 1 life at this point of the game, you know, you're just going to be extremely difficult to try and get through the amount of pressure that Gogeta Xeno is going to be putting on. You know, you're going to waste all your cards in hand, and it's just a matter of time before they can deal that finishing blow or get to a position where they can just out combo you.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Are they? No, he's taken that last life. Yeah, I was going to say, are they just like discussing now?
Yeah, so Blake deciding that I'm going to take my life myself. I'm not going to allow you to deal the damage. So in response to the Gogeta, he's taking the life for the super Kamehameha.
Yeah, and that is fair enough. Yeah, that'll be it. A very slow start to the Gogeta Xeno matchup, obviously. Very, very different than what we've seen. But again, a deck that is so reliant on the RNG side of things. Yeah, it really shows like how much RNG you really need. Like we got to turn 2 or 3 before we could actually see like some of the actual 6 costs. And that's never going to change with this engine, right? Like it's going to be one of those things where unless you can reliably have the Goku Vegeta in the warp or even in the hand, which you don't really want to use your hand to do it anyway, but yeah, until you can guarantee see that there, it's very hard to do. So again, congratulations to Blake on winning that short but sweet victory on that playmat. We're going to jump into the interview and bring him back in here, guys. Stay tuned so we can get that one sorted. Hello, sir. Welcome back.
How you going?
Good. How are you going? That was possibly one of the quickest victories that I have ever seen.
Well, I drew absolute garbage, and he was just like, "Look, I'm not going to win this with AOD because all my colored cards are in my hand." And I was like, "Fair enough." So then we just played like a Gogeta mirror, and both had the worst possible hands ever. I don't think either of us saw a Goku until turn 3 or 4.
Yeah. That mirror match was kind of interesting to watch. We've been speaking about it quite a fair bit. You know how it is based on a lot of RNG, obviously, and that was a perfect example of it too. You know, both you guys struggled to see your pieces that you needed, and it kind of got to like a point where, like, you know, turn 2, both you guys had nothing on the board. It was literally empty. It was just kind of like, you know, who can hit that piece first, right? I
can't see why this deck would be getting hit at all. Like you saw right then, terribly inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell yourself that, and you can probably tell a lot of the people that, you know, play this deck for a living, like every week in, week out. They're just like, I didn't need to be touched. But yeah, congratulations on obviously that. I would have loved to see that matchup. I'm not gonna lie. I saw the AOD Barbity come down, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be juicy. This is gonna be so good to see. You know, this is gonna be interesting. And then it's just Ryan made the point of, you know, the Peerless Fusion being able to kind of get rid of that, and it was the question of, you know, did he have any Hatchaks in the deck? Did he have, like, you know, if he didn't, then he'd have to see another Barbity somehow. It was just one of those things where, like, you warp the Barbity as well, so it's not like he goes to the drop and you can bring it back from the Hatchak either. It's literally, once it's gone, it's kind of gone from that. So yeah, I'm semi-shocked he scooped, but I guess he just didn't want to waste the time, right? It was kind of like,
He said that he just wanted to play Gogeta like the Mirror one last time because the next time he probably plays it, it will be kind of hit.
Yeah.
And that was probably the best way to show that the deck is obviously fantastic in consistency.
Oh yeah, like that showed everyone what we love to see. But yeah,
probably the latest awaken I've seen for a Gogeta deck. I think both players are opting to awaken on turn 4 or 5. You know, I couldn't believe it.
Well, yeah, like we agree on the fact that in the Gogeta mirror, whoever goes first loses. Like
that's
whoever
exactly what we said.
Attacks first kind of loses because you put in all your pressure and everything, all your pieces, and then it's just like, cool, my opponent's gonna wipe me up the next turn.
Yep, and that's the funny thing about the deck, right? Both of you guys could see what you guys were doing, right? Like it revolves so much around the warp, it revolves around obviously those mills, and it was kind of like you guys felt like you had like nothing to worry about, right? So if one of you guys did hit it and the other one didn't, it would have been like, oh, I can freely pay my thwarting right now, and you don't have the ability to kind of get rid of it next turn if you don't mill correctly. So it was kind of like the waiting game. It was just like, I would love to play it now, but I don't have it, and then your turn would come in and it was just like, well, I'd also love to play mine, but I also don't have it. So I guess we're going back to next turn. So
that was the first 3 turns of the game. It
was just so funny.
But like a hit that I think should have happened to the thwarting card itself is the Union Fusion should have been a 2, like changed to 2, because it's too easy to get out for 1, and for what it does, like I think just giving it a like play for 2 would have been a lot better. Like then you can keep it unique and you can keep it at 4 off, but it gives you have to be more wary of your resources if you want to play it.
And that was something we'd spoken about before the ban list had come out. You know, what change would need to apply to thwarting, and I tossed the idea of perhaps your opponent has to have a certain amount of energy before you can play it. We'd spoken about making it a limit 1 in the deck, but even 2 energy, and they decided to leave it as it is, which is interesting.
Yeah, I find it really silly that the Marvelous Might has a restriction on your opponent needs 2 energy, and it's far less. It does far less than thwarting does. And thwarting's just like, I come down on turn 1, draw you a card, and I am your board clearer for the rest of the game.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's not so much the double strike that is the problem. It's just that you're able to warp your opponent's battle card as well, which I feel like is probably a bit too much. You know, your opponent spent energy to establish their turn 1 play and, you know, get this card out in the field that they need, and you're just able to come out and just completely remove it.
But this card,
just a crazy card.
This card has been, I mean, what tournament pack did it come out of? At least like 2 tournament packs ago, I would say.
That's 13, so 3.
13?
Yes, 13. So it came out with the King Vegeta tournament pack.
Yeah, wow.
So with the switching gears and everything.
Yeah, so had it for 3 full sets of cycles. So that's 9 months that this card has been out and still untouched. That kind of baffles me a little bit that, you know, after all, I mean, we didn't really see it be played that much. King Vegeta kind of flew off in that first 3 months and they had to emergency ban it after they did the original ban list. And that was the focus, which I felt like that opened up the floodgate for thwarting.
Also, just availability for it was so
scarce,
so difficult at the beginning. Yeah, we saw that card. You know, the winner was 150, the non-winner was 110, 120.
Yeah,
people just weren't willing to drop 400 plus to get a playset of these cards.
Very true. Good point. Good point. And that's very, very understandable.
I wasn't going to drop that much on it.
Yeah,
I just got what I got from my locals and mismatched my winners with my regular ones.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, you know, again, there was a lot of decks out there at the time. I mean, to finish off the King Vegeta deck, that was a $400-500 like challenge itself, right?
You had the Raditz, the Vegeta promos that were running around at that point. New Ruler wasn't cheap back then.
There was a lot of definite good cards, but well, this was you didn't play in the last one, did you, Blake? The last
I did not.
Tournament. Nice. So you came in first time, big win. Got the first place mat. If you're going to be anything like Chris, you're going to flex it on the next one. When you come in, strike fear,
deck.
strike fear into it with your new set 16 deck. Again, probably one of anyone's quickest wins. You know, the only thing that could be quicker was sitting across from your opponent, knowing that you're going to lose the matchup, and them just saying, "Here's the round. I don't even want to play it." Like, I can't think of anything quicker. But look, you take the win, you take the prize. It is a gorgeous play, Matt. Congratulations again. It's good to kind of to see you, obviously, from where you were in the original spot, and then all the way up to the end as well, doing another interview with you. But yeah, congratulations. Hopefully, we see more of these tournaments, and again, would love to see you flexing that, Matt, for the set 16 series going forward.
Yeah, repping Victoria as well.
All the best players come from Victoria.
That's it. One of the only players to rock up from Victoria. But again, thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you for giving us the chance to obviously interview you. And again, congratulations. Well done, and hope to see you again soon.
All right, no worries. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.